We have the Chargers at the Raiders. My question for you is, now that the Chargers have fired Brandon Staley, they have fired their GM, Tom Telesco, what is next for the Chargers? Because you have an OC in Kellen Moore, who's been vying for a head coaching job these last couple of years, but you haven't really seen all that talent or all that potential on offense really formulate, come true, come to what it was supposed to be. So I feel like the Chargers are actually in a very tough spot because if I remember right, they're $47 million over the cap next year.
Oh, they're in a very tough spot. I think I would start with this. Obviously, number one, you got to get the head coach right, like you're saying. And in my opinion, I personally don't believe it's Kellen Moore yet. Like, what I would say to Kellen is I'd say, look, man, I have no problem giving you another shot at this role because, remember last week I was critical on him, but reality is that their star three offensive talents have not even been on the field together for a total of like, what was it, like more than 8% of the snaps?
Yeah, I think it was 9%.
Yeah, it was 8 or 9%. So it's like, I'm going to give you another year to see if people, stay healthy. Let's see if we can get it going. But if not, and if they still can't get healthy and you still can't show me that you can create continuity outside of that, then your job's gone. So it's like, I'll give you another year in this role and at most. And if you can prove to me that, maybe we'll do something long term. But I'm definitely not going to give him head coaching duties yet. And I think that's the thing is, I'm not going to bank on a guy who already got fired from an offense where now they're performing much better without him, where, you know what I mean? I think the whole thing kind of leads up to that would just be like putting a guy in who's over his head.
Yeah. I mean, I honestly feel like this would be the perfect spot. I mean, I'm a Bears fan and I would love to see Jim Harbaugh come in and be the next head coach. But with what Jim Harbaugh wants in terms of roster control, I would feel like the Chargers are probably the most optimal place where the owner would be willing to give Jim Harbaugh roster control. And the nice thing is, and just kind of more thinking about it, this has to be the most attractive, opening for a coach. You have Justin Herbert, who just signed a massive deal, and you have guys like Joshua Palmer, who are showing promise. Keenan Allen had a good year. You have a first rounder in Quentin Johnson, who's still developing. Eckler, whatever you do with him, there's a lot. They have all pros on defense. There's a lot to work with, but it's time to do something.
See, this brings me to my next point. You really just made me think of this. But let's do a little time travel here.
Okay.
Let's go back to last year. You remember when Sean Payton, who's gonna take Sean Payton off the Saints' hands? Right? And the Chargers decided, and this is where it goes back to Tom Telesco. This dude was sitting in his office and really decided, no, don't give me the Super Bowl winning coach. Give me Staley again. I'm going to bank on this.
I get the thing of not wanting to use draft picks, but I'm going to tell you right now, I would much rather have Sean Payton than Quentin Johnston.
If they had Sean Payton, and that's the thing, they didn't even have to give the first. They could have give they could have give their second. I mean, you're telling me right now that you wouldn't want to have Sean Payton on the roster. That's all I'm saying. And I get it. Everything in hindsight
is 2020, yeah.
But I'm just saying.
But let's talk about their division rival. Because I feel like the Chargers are just at this point, they're to the wind.
Oh, this season and I don't want to say the foreseeable future when you got a guy like Justin Herbert on the roster, but Super Bowl contention, I mean, probably for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, it's out the window, in my opinion, unless you get, there's got to be some roster turnover too because they're over the cap. But anyway, the Raiders scoring 63 points with an interim head coach.
After the shutout.
And Aiden O'Connell, a fourth round quarterback?
Yeah.
The defense played lights out. You got out schemed from a defensive standpoint, being a defensive mastermind head coach.
See, and that was by far the straw that broke the camel's back. But that's what I've been thinking with this whole thing, where it was and you saw his comments after the game. His comments after the game was really what did him in.
Yeah.
He said, this happens across the landscape of sports. Yeah, and someone said there's the funniest thing. So his top comment said, yeah, it happens to bad coaches.
To bad coaches, yeah.
We see it with the bad coaches, bro. And, hey, I get it. In his perspective, what are you going to say in that situation?
I know Sean Payton was right there 70, come on.
For sure.
Yeah,
and they gave him mercy. They definitely had a few shots at it. Antonio Pierce decided to play it classy. You got to respect it.
I would have ran up the score.
He said, you know what? I think we've proved enough today. And from their sideline, everyone knew what was coming after that game. It's let's not embarrass Staley more than it's about to be after the night's over.
So before we go into the next game, if you had to put money on it, do you think Antonio Pierce is the Raiders head coach next year?
Can I answer it and tie it into another thing that I'm
Yeah,
gonna tie
yeah,
it to
go
another
ahead.
note that I had to talk about before you skip over this.
Oh, Trey Tucker?
I'll say if they can keep Trey Tucker involved, the way that he like has been, you're getting Trey Tucker involved. I think we're seeing, and when I see him running his routes, you got like, hey, we knew coming out, but now we're seeing it translate to the NFL. You got a nimble, fast, speedy. Like I know the hands we're looking at, we're still a little okay. We want to see those hands get a little better, but get that man more involved. I do think he can be kind of like that secret X factor to that offense. So I'm gonna say keep Trey Tucker involved, keep this offense rolling. I do truly believe, yeah, the way that the Raiders have bought into him. But I also get it from the perspective of being the owner or the GM, and not the owner, the GM, banking on, okay, if I give him and I tell him he stays and then it doesn't work out, it's the same situation as the Telesco situation where you're banking on a guy or how much faith do you really have that it's going to work long term?
Right.
Like, but I would say I would give him the job for at least a year.
Even another year on it. And the other thing too is you have talent on that team and he's utilizing it to the max, and you're beating division rivals who have arguably a top 5 quarterback, top 10 quarterback. So yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see what the Raiders do with their future.